Welcome to Auvers-sur-Oise. This beautiful town, as its name suggests, lies alongside the River Oise, and it's around half an hour north drive from Paris. It's around an hour away if you take the train. The town rose to particular prominence during the 19th century when a number of famous painters moved here. This includes Paul Cézanne and Camille Pissarro, but the most famous painter of all is Vincent Van Gogh, who lived here for a few months prior to his death, and he actually died in a house in the town. So without further ado, let's go and explore all that this town has to offer. Your first port of call in town should be heading to the tourist office, where you can pick up this little map which will give you more detailed information about some of the best places to visit in town, as well as a tourist route that you can follow. In the 2 months prior to his death, Van Gogh painted some 80 paintings, which averages to more than one per day. If you want to follow some of these paintings that he did in Auvers-sur-Oise, then you can follow the trail, which has handy information about each of the locations and when he painted the painting. While you can obviously visit during any time of the year, the best time to come is definitely the end of May, beginning of June, when all of the roses and the iris are in bloom. This is the only town in the Île-de-France region outside of Paris that has at least 9 classified monuments, and so walking around town, which is best done on foot or by bicycle, feels akin to stepping into a real-life museum. So as a result, it's best seen on a sunny day. Notre Dame of the Assumption is one of the most important buildings in town, and its position at the top of a hill overlooking the rest of the valley means it has amazing commanding views all over Auvers-sur-Oise. You may well recognise it because it features in one of Van Gogh's most famous paintings, which can now be found within the Musée d'Orsay. On the 29th of July, 1890, Vincent Van Gogh passed away at just the tender age of 37. 30 hours earlier, he had been shot in the chest. It's not apparent whether it was a murder, an accident, or self-inflicted. What is known is that throughout his whole life, Vincent Van Gogh was plagued by mental health illness. He died with his brother by his side, and he is now interred in the cemetery next to his brother here in Auvers-sur-Oise. Although Van Gogh is regarded to be a celebrity today, I think it's important to remember that during his lifetime, he put a lot of pressure on himself to do well, but within his lifetime, it's thought that only 2 paintings were sold. And so today, while he may be world famous, he really struggled and didn't have a lot of means during his lifetime. Although Van Gogh had immortalised the church here in Auvers-sur-Oise just a few weeks earlier with his amazing painting, the priest here decided that he wasn't allowed to have a Christian funeral in the church because it was believed that he had ended his own life, and he was a Protestant. The church here is Catholic. A funeral organised by Theodore, Van Gogh's brother, was therefore held in Auvers-sur-Oise, which is in the town below. Just a few years later, Vincent Van Gogh's own brother died, partly of a broken heart. He was initially buried in his native Netherlands, but was moved by his widow in 1914 to the graveyard here in Auvers-sur-Oise to be next to his brother. Daubigny was another famous artist who lived here in Auvers-sur-Oise, and today his former home and atelier has been turned into a museum, which you can visit on Saturdays and Sundays. Unfortunately, it's currently Monday, and so it's closed. You'll be happy to know that there are a few artists who live and work in the town today still. If you want to see some of the work for yourself as well as purchase it, then you can head to La Maison Rose, which is right next to the Maison d'Aubigny. The Chateau of Auvers was constructed in the first half of the 17th century, probably in 1635. It now belongs to the French state and has been turned into a museum where there are ever-changing exhibitions about Impressionism and Post-Impressionism in France. Unfortunately, you do have to pay to visit the interior, but the exterior and the gardens are completely free to admire and wander around, so let's go and check them out now. If you're familiar with French spirits, then you've probably heard of absinthe, which is made from fennel, anise and wormwood. Today, if you want to learn more about them, then you can visit this museum, which is the history of absinthe. The reason that there's an absinthe museum here in Auvers-sur-Oise specifically is because Van Gogh is said to have consumed it during his life. There's paintings of him with absinthe, and he also painted the drink himself. Vincent Van Gogh arrived at l'Auberge-la-Rue in 1890 in May, and it was here for the final 2 months of his life where he lived. He actually lived in 38 different addresses during the course of his 37 years. This was the final place where he stayed. He actually died in a room upstairs. Today you can visit the auberge and you can even have a meal here. These post office sorting vans date back to the 1920s to 1930s and have today been transformed into an amazing library which houses lots of ancient books. So let's go and check out the inside. So in the English translation over there it said library, but I think that was a bit of a mistranslation because it turns out this is actually a bookshop where you can buy books, secondhand books, but you can still buy them. This is honestly such a time warp. I'm talking quietly to not disturb the other readers, but there's these newspapers, there's so many books of different categories, animals, plants, travel. It does smell a bit musty in here though. If you have a little more time to spare and you're looking for an equally quaint village to visit, then I recommend checking out the nearby L'Île Adam. Nestled alongside the River Oise, this little village remains frozen in time, and there are lots of lovely opportunities to go on walks, stroll through historic architecture, and even dine alongside the water. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more France travel content. See you next time.